right, so I'm going to give you a little history on the property and where you're at. Who has never been to this location before? Raise your hands. Oh, you're in for a treat. All right, so where you're standing right now, this is battlefield for the battles of Bethesda Church. From May 28th to June 3rd, 4th, 1865, I can account for 2,264 men killed, captured, wounded, and missing in action within a mile and a half of where you're at right now. The large building that's across the road from us, the small engine shop, behind that is the remnants of the foundation for Bethesda Church. That was a Confederate headquarters. They had 6 cannons lined up across the road, aimed a mile and a half away at the Via House. That was a Union headquarters. If a crow were to fly from there to there, guess what? We're in deep shit. That's what happened to the family that had a property right here. The Curry family existed on this land during the battles. Their home was basically ransacked and gutted. So during the 4 to 6 days, there are discrepancies on the dates. There was no less than 8 crossings on this land. The final main one that was spoken about, there were 5 companies of Union soldiers on the other side of Walnut Grove Road, which is just that next intersection. There were 6 companies of Confederates backing them up, pushing them this way. They drew in 2 additional companies from Richmond. That gave them 8 companies of Confederates pushing the Union straight across this land, firing as they went. That energy was left on this land. Most of the men that were here, the Confederates especially, were ordered under all circumstances, maintain this crossroad. That was the main route into Richmond. That was their supply route. That was also the way that they would get to Cold Harbor. Everybody is familiar with Gettysburg, I hope. Yes? Okay. Gettysburg is known to be the deadliest battles of the Civil War. 56,000 men died on that field. That put them in a little over a 30% death rate. They had 158,000 men, I believe, dispatched to battle at Gettysburg. 30% death rate. That means for 1 of every 3 of you, drop them dead. That's horrific. Now let's talk about Cold Harbor. On a per capita basis, it exceeds Gettysburg. It is the deadliest battle per capita of the entire Civil War. It had over an 80% death rate. Wow. The men that were coming across this land were headed to Cold Harbor. A journal entry that we found that was a young man picked up a pocket letter from a dead fallen soldier. A pocket letter was the letter they wrote home, kept it in their pocket. If you find their body laying on the battlefield, you search their pockets, you make sure that letter goes home. It's to tell their loved ones the last things they wanted to say. In his pocket letter, he wrote, "This will probably be the last letter you'll receive from me. We've been ordered an assured death. We've been ordered to Cold Harbor." Those men were here. That letter may have been written under an oak tree relaxing back here. We don't know. But we do know they were here, they were headed there, and they knew what was coming. One of the surviving Federal soldiers from Cold Harbor wrote in his journal, "As we cleared the tree line," this is at Cold Harbor, "as we cleared the tree line, we could see nothing but mounds and mounds of earthworks with one lone battle flag perched upon the top. Then it became a field of smoke and we dropped like a curtain. Between 7,000 and 12,000 men lay dead or dying in the first 90 minutes of battle." Think about this. 7,000 to 12,000 men in 90 minutes lay on the battlefield for up to 7 days before a temporary truce was called for them to recover their dead and injured. So if you were injured on day 1, you may have laid there for 7 days before they were able to get to you, if you were alive at the end of that 7 days. Those men came through here. Those men left their energy on this land. So some of the things that we have seen on this land are full-bodied apparitions. We've seen soldiers on this land. We have heard them doing whistle calls, which would be, if you're in battle, you're not going to go, "Hey, Bob, you ready?" It's not really good because now you just put a bullet in or something. So they would whistle back and forth. We've captured that in the woods. We've captured residual musket fire and residual cannon fire. We've captured residual battle cries. Listen for those things. Pay attention to what's around you. We have a beautiful bright moon tonight. Try to keep your talking to a minimum so you can hear what's going on around you. If you look at the rest of your group and everybody's standing still and you hear somebody running through the woods, trust me, it's not me. I'm too damn blind to run through the woods without a flashlight. If I do run through the woods, you'll know it's me because you'll hear the running, then you'll hear, son of a bitch. So, please make sure to pay attention to what's around you. It is to your benefit. How many of you have never investigated before? You watch the shows though, right? All right. So the big difference between those shows and this is not for entertainment. This is for you to experience something that you've never got the chance to do. We're not responsible for advertising. We're not responsible to raise funds for whatever product you can think of. We're here just to make sure that you are safe. This is your investigation. You ask the questions. The team members that will be assigned to your groups are here just to kind of push things along in a lull. This is your investigation. We've investigated many times. So one of the other parts I want to tell you about the Civil War that took place, actually, according to our survey map, it's 4/10 of a mile to that next intersection. 500 members of 10th Virginia took off up Walnut Grove Road, which then was just a horse trail, buggy trail. They were headed on an offensive attack against the Union headquarters. Unbeknownst to them, 5,000 members of the Union Army were coming to attack Bethesda Church. I don't know what genius decided, hey, we've had 2 days of heavy downpour rain. That's a muddy, muck swamp. March through there. But he should have really thought about it, because what ultimately happened was the 500 members of 10th Virginia got bogged down in the mud back here. When the 5,000 members of the Union Army came upon them, they literally fishbowled them. 400 members of 10th Virginia died right back there. The way the land laid at that time, who here is familiar with Beaver Dam Creek Battlefield? Big battlefield up the road. It's actually 7 miles up in Mechanicsville proper. That was a major battle as well. But Beaver Dam Creek flowed out and across and faded out across our back land. The blood of that 400 members of 10th Virginia literally would have come right across the back of our property. How much energy did they transfer to this land? One of the most heartbreaking stories of the battles that took place here is the little red cap boy. Confederate soldier, 15 years old. Their color bearer, which is their flag bearer, was dropped on the battlefield. He ran over and picked up the flag and yelled, damn them all to hell. They've killed my brother. They may as well kill me too. He stood proud, holding colors for 20 minutes. Then the journal entry says they trained a cannon on him, and the last that could be seen was his little red cap flipping through the air as the cannon detonated him. He was right back here, half a mile. That's the kind of energy that was left on this land. So that's the land. Now let's talk about the structure, since we got all that good stuff out the way, right? So this building was built in 1980. It was to be a model home for log cabin sales in the area. It has never been a residential structure. No family has ever lived in this house. However, there are guests. There are residents. I can tell you that because I drew my weapon on one right up here. We had a toy drive one night at about 2 in the morning. I decided I've had a couple of beers. I'm not driving home. I threw a sleeping bag right where they're standing. I woke up when my music shut off and it went dead silent. I had my sidearm laying up by my shoulder. And as I woke up, I'm kind of clearing the cobwebs. About from me to this gentleman was an old man standing over me just like this. I'm not going to lie. I almost had a bit of a bowel movement. I reached for my weapon as I locked eyes on him. I glanced away real quick to make sure I'm reaching in the right place. It's gone in that instant. Nearly a year later, there was a group in here doing what's called the Estes method. One's wearing headphones, listening to a spirit box, one's asking questions. The question was, do you know Dennis? The response on the spirit box was, he drew on me. The old man that I drew my weapon on interacted with them. Now I thought it was crazy enough that I saw this old man. Told Ryan I described the old man as I saw him. And then we met a young lady that owned one of the businesses in this building. And she told me a story that literally made my blood run cold. During the time that she had a business here, to quote her, my life was good, business was good, my relationship with my fiance was wonderful. But she felt compelled to come out here one night about 4 in the morning, and on the way here she called her best friend up, told her, I'm in a kind of a dark place, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to the cabin. Either turned her phone off, left it in the car, or whatever, but she didn't answer the phone calls from her best friend that she had just hung up on, told her that she was in a dark place. She came out here, her desk sat over here, she said she sat in her office chair for an unknown amount of time. She said that the weird thing was there was no emotion, there was no sense of time, I just was. She said at some point I got up, walked around the corner and grabbed a butcher knife off the kitchen sink, walked into the bathroom and swallowed a bottle of Xanax that was sitting on the vanity, looked in the mirror, slit both wrists, dropped the knife in the sink and stood just like this and said, I watched the blood run out of my arms. She said, I don't know how long I was there, but I'll tell you, it was long enough to leave one hell of a mess that I had to clean up 5 days later when I came back. But I came back out here, I sat in my chair. As I sat there, I just hung my arms over the arms of the chair and let the blood run out. She said, I remember standing over here, looking at my body and a pool of blood on each side, and an old man standing beside me, and an old woman standing beside him. She said, the old man turned and looked at me and said, you know, it's not your turn. It's not your time. You're not ready. You have to go back. She said, next thing I remember was a very brief conversation with the paramedics, then waking up 2 days later in the hospital. Her best friend had the presence of mind to call authorities and ask for a welfare check. When they got here, she had a heart rate of 42. It's about 30% of what it ought to be. If she'd have been another 20 minutes or so, she would have died in this room. But the old man that she described standing right beside her looking at her body was the same old man that was standing there looking at my body. He didn't tell me it wasn't my time. That gives me concern. So those are a couple of the things that you'll find in here. A few of the reports that she gave me, she was an avid collector of Pokemon cards. She said she had 400 or 500 cards laid out on top of her desk. Went home to feed her dog. She was organizing the cards and everything. And when she came back, the cards were strewn all across the floor. She said the doors were locked. Nothing else was out of place, but my desk was swept clean, like somebody just took an arm and swept it off. So somebody here is a little playful. We had another team that was here. Man standing up there doing a Facebook Live. Man standing here. And just all of a sudden you see him go pale and he does one of these looks. He's like, there was just a little boy standing right there, and he ran down the hallway. Of course, his question was the same as mine. What the hell are you still standing there for? Go! He said there wasn't a little boy in the building, but I saw him standing here. So those are some of the things that you can watch for. Listen for voices, female and male. At one point in time, we did discover that in the back room upstairs, this place got raided and busted for being a bordello. Here's the key to that. They didn't have women here to service men. They had men here to service women. And we have female voices captured. Ryan captured one female that says, I'm naked. So we do have some strange things take place in this building.